with Dr. Eve. I am excited to be back in the studio today talking about another very important topic. I paid my bills, now what? That happens to be the story of many Americans. So we're going to jump right into it. I was having a conversation with my husband last night and sitting in our peaceful parlor environment, just being grateful, thankful that of how blessed we really are, right? And sharing with him how amazing it is just to sit in the comfort of yourself without all of the noise, without the need to be a part of all the camaraderie. And my husband doubled back. He was on his way out uh, to to take a ride, and he doubled back and he said, "Not everyone had, not everyone has that benefit." And I pondered the thought of that uh, to myself, saying, "Well, yeah, it is a privilege. It's definitely a privilege to have to be able to sit in the comfort of my home and to not have to, be measured against the noise of America, to be able to run one's own life, to be able to work from anywhere in the world, to be able to do all these things. It is indeed a privilege." But I began to ask myself the question this morning after that conversation, saying, why is it that many are working to pay bills and that's it? That's the point of our conversation today. One of the things that I have learned as a community health educator and human service educator is that many Americans are dealing with economic instability. What does that mean? It means that we have pretty much been trained to go to a job, and that these jobs have caps, they have walls, they have borders, they have behaviors, they have conditions, they have systemic systems, right? And many of these things do not work in the American favor, right? So, not to bust up everything, but we must have a real conversation about what's really happening in these systems. So, God has called me to a very special place most of my life, and that is to solve problems. And in the solving of those problems, we address conditions, behaviors, and systems. And so, why is it that we work to pay bills? We know that there was a an act created called the Work Act, the Employment Act, back in the early, I want to say, 60s, when social welfare also began, right? Became an act, right? We'll give them this and we'll give them that, to make them stable. But none of that makes us stable. It made us dependent. So let's talk about why we work to pay bills. It's because our minds have been trained to go to work every day to pay the bills. But how many of us have anything left after we pay the bills? What's your status? How do you feel about that? What's your take on the the Employment Act and what its impact on the American? What is the impact of the Employment Act on you? I used to be bound by that system, and I am eternally grateful that I no longer have to. I can work from anywhere in the world, but I made an intentional choice. So let's talk about choices now, right? Systems have been created, the internet has been, fiber optic has been laid. We see the power of the internet. Why aren't we using it? I don't understand. So many are using it for good, many are using it and they're standing by, they're spectators. And I want to talk to the spectators today. I really want to talk to the spectators who know that you have a gift, you have a skill, you have education, you have experience, you have talent. You have all of these things. I want to talk to the spectator today. Why is it that I've paid my bills, now what? Right? And it's because some of us don't know how. Some of us maybe we work extensive hours and don't know when we'll fit in time to learn something new. Some of us just won't take the initiative, and that's true. This is true in many cases, and so we don't want to, discount that. But what we know is that we have to do something, because the the Bible tells me that we are to leave an inheritance for our children and our children's children. Well, how are we going to do that if all we do is work to pay bills? When in essence, we were given these talents to be able to solve the problems that exist here on this earth and expand our ability to earn. So I want to talk to you about that today. What does that look like? Well, I'll share a story with you. I'll share with you how it looked for me. When I realized that I didn't have enough left at the end of the day, like I was paying bills and I didn't have, what was I going to do with the mere pennies that I had left? Well, I knew I needed to do something different. Also, I knew I had to do something different because I wasn't, how many of you get a raise and it's a 10-cent raise, 20-cent raise? Are we still dealing with that? 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents a year. How much is that for you? How's that working? And so when I reflect back on my times of working in, corporate America, healthcare, all of that, it's a shame and a scandal. I think back over the shame and the scandal of actually paying people, giving them a 50 cents raise. What in the world is that? A 50 cents raise? Some people 25 cents. What is a dollar? What is a dollar even when the prices of things are always going up? So to answer the question that my husband had, or the statement that my husband made was, well, some people aren't privileged to do that. And I think back on how I did it. That comes into play, because to me, it can be an excuse. We either want to, or we want to settle for, right? And I'm not settling. I said that I wasn't going to settle, that I wanted more for my family. I wanted more for myself. And I knew that I had the ability and the skills to do some very important work. And we all do. And we all do. And so I question you today. I've paid the bills, now what? What will you do with what remains, right? When there's not enough to get started, right? So I challenge you. This is what I did. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. I was working on that 9 to 5, and I made a clear decision. I remember the pivotal point in my life when I made a decision. I said, you know what, there's got to be more to life than this. This is what I've always said to myself. There's got to be more to life than this. And so it was at that point that I took my lunch break. I printed out the form, the LLC form, and I filed for my articles of incorporation. That was the pivotal point in which my life began to change. I no longer want us to continue thinking that we have to settle for what has been given, because that's exactly what we do when we commit to caps and walls and borders, when we can actually spend our lives working anywhere in the world, mobile anytime, mobile anywhere, given the opportunities that we have and the exposure to use the internet, the opportunity to open up our cameras and share ourselves with the world. So what do? I filled out my incorporation papers and it was up from there. So I said, now I don't advise anybody, don't just go hopping off of a job, because there's a frame of mind that you can have, right? And so That's important. That's really important for next steps when you make that decision. And that frame of mind is now you have to look at your employer differently. So you're employed and I was employed, but everything about what I felt about my job became different. I said, this is my angel investor. You are my angel investor. So whatever money I have coming beyond my bills is going to this business because I'm about to transform my entire life, right? And so I knew I had to work 9 to 5. 9 to 5. No, I wasn't working 9 to 5. I worked with 7 to 3. And sometimes having to be on call for somebody, on call for weekends. What kind of life is that? That your whole life is held hostage to a job, right? So I made the commitment. That's the first thing you have to do is make the commitment to yourself. What problem is it that I can solve? What skills do I have? What talent do I naturally have that I can put in service and exploit in service to the world? And that is the most important thing that we must get to. Now, when will I find time to do all of this? Well, you get paid from 9 to whatever time you go to work, 7 to 3. That was my case. But baby, beyond that, when I left that job, I walked into my house, which was my real job, which was the job that I was now committed to, dedicated to, looking to strengthen the vision, developing my strategic plan, my strategies of distinction. How do I stand out from the crowd? How do I stand above the noise, right? These were all things that I had to begin to think about, right? Because now I've made a decision. And that's where it begins. It begins with a decision to snatch your life, your gifts, your talents, the things that you own, and put them into play. I'm Dr. Eve. I am a community health and human service educator, and I'm on a mission to show you how to use the internet to work from anywhere in the world. Mobile anytime, mobile anywhere. If you want to learn more about the work that we do, click the link that's in this video, YouTube, or in the bio over here in Instagram, and learn more about how you can put your knowledge, talents, and gifts and create an income vault, right? Because you're amazing, because you deserve more than caps and walls and borders, right? So I challenge you to get off of the sidelines. Stop being a spectator because there's more than paying bills. You know, I've seen so many of my friends work to 30 years, and then they walk away from the job and they die. So many dreams and so many visions are in the grave, and they're there because, oh, I'll retire next year. Oh, I'll retire. I made a point that I was going to retire at 55, and that's what I did. 55 was going to be it. That's it. That's all that I'm giving them. And at that age, I retired. So we have to be intentional. Hey, Promi Mommy, good to see you. We have to be intentional about what it is that we desire and get off of the sidelines being spectators. Because, baby, I didn't work to just pay bills. God did not create me to just pay bills. And so it is our goal as an organization, my goal as a leader, to help other women to find their space, to find their thing, their calling, use their gifts, their talents to work from anywhere in the world and to be change agents, transformational change agents. We're not out here just to make a buck. God created us to solve problems. And when we are called to solve a problem, we must be strategic about the problems that we're solving. What are the conditions? Who's the target? What are their behaviors? What are the conditions they're currently in? What are the systems that are currently affecting their ability to have stability? Because at the end of the day, guess what? Stability is a public health crisis. It's a social determinant of health. And if we do not have the stability that we need to be able to care for ourselves, to care for our families, to prepare for the future generations unto second, third, and fourth generations, then what do we do? What are we doing as a people? So I have built in an opportunity for all of you out there who understand what it is I'm sharing. You don't want to be a spectator, but you want to figure out how. Oh, then click the link in my bio so you can learn how. Or maybe you really do understand the plight that I'm speaking about and you want to help. I'm giving you an opportunity to donate. Donate to the cause so that we can help another Black woman because our programs don't run for free. So my concern is that, I have women in my inbox all the time. They're in my inbox all the time and they want to know how do I do this? Or where do I begin? Or where do I start? Well, it's all about first making the decision and then acting upon that decision, right? And we'll take you from there, making a commitment to get in community, making a commitment to connect with someone who's done it already, right? I utilize all of my strengths. I use my own program to show people that it works. You know, I'm an innovator. I knew that where the internet was going to some amazing places. And so in the early 90s when, they were laying that fiber optic network, I put myself in places and spaces where I could learn and I could grow and I could advance with technology. Why? Because it's my baby anyway. Um, Science, technology, and engineering, all that is, yeah, it's a thing, right? It's a real thing. And the goal was, how do I use this for the greater good? And at that time, I was working with young people, in a community, building community access centers. Why? Because there were conditions that were keeping them from having access. There were barriers in certain neighborhoods where children could not access technology. So there are always problems in our community. Will you stand up to the call? Will you stand up to the call? Will you come to the table? Will you be a part of the change? That's the question that I really have for you today. Will you be a part of the change that is necessary to remove the conditions, the behaviors, and the systemic violence that exists in our country that's keeping this crisis stability happening? What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Do you have skills? Do you have talents? Do you have a urge? Do you have a problem that you experienced? See, because a lot of the reasons why we find ourselves here in these places and desiring to want to help or to change the way things are is because we experience something. We experience life. We remember what it was like. And all of us have our own little adverse experience. But did you know that you too can change the lives of many people? Because you understand what that experience was like. You made it over. You found a solution. You know what it's like. And that was my experience. And so I made a commitment. I made a commitment that whatever encounter I had, which God didn't waste nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing in my life, whatever I was going to experience, I triumphed over. And I made a commitment that I would help people, that I would help people to triumph over their current situations, to have a thriving life. And I would use my skills and talents here in the internet, that I would use my ability to work from anywhere in the world, my ability to develop amazing systems, prevention programs, intervention programs, community groups, online, offline, social support. It's a real thing, y'all. This is not for play. This is truly, it's truly a thing. Online social support. Be the support you didn't have, right? How many of us needed support back then for a thing that we were going through, but we had no one. We had no one to be the support that we needed, right? So when we are creating and designing programs, we must do so with precision. What are we the who, what, why, when, and how really does matter. And the research on that thing really does matter. I'm a firm believer as a PhD that we must not abandon the research. We must not abandon the research because the research tells us what worked and what didn't work. Who did it work for? Who did it didn't work for? And why? Because the researchers have already done the work. And so these are unique value propositions that I come with as a leader in the design of programs, in this whole design of innovative approaches to manifest wealth and excellence. What's your unique value, right? That is your UVP is critically important. Mine is the development of programs. Mine is technology. It's also the ability to train facilitators because I'm a collegiate educator who trains students to be facilitators, to be group leaders. So you can use everything. So when I share with you how important it is to look at the whole of you to develop and design strategies to help and support your audience, it's critically important. So how many mentors or researchers or consultants or counselors do you know that come here that can tell you, first of all, I'm a researcher, I'm a PhD. Two, I teach group facilitation at the collegiate level. Three, I literally wrote a book on social support, right? on how to use technology for social support. So you see where I'm going? It's critically important that you identify your unique value proposition so that when you come here, and this is what we help you to do. We help you to develop your thing that you're called to do. We help you to develop your theme. My theme is touch one life, touch millions, but it's the brand that people expect of me now. It's the thing. It's what I do. It's the name of my book series. It's the name of my merch. It's the name of my podcast. It's the thing. So, it's very important that you get into you put that grit behind what it is you're called to do. And these are things that we train our facilitators to do because we have a program where we train you to become a facilitator in the online space to provide what? Social support, right? To who? Your target market, to address what? Their conditions, their behaviors, and their systems that affect them, right? So, but you have to know the how to do that, right? So it's important that if you've been called, and you have, we all have been, because that was God's original intent for our lives, to solve problems. That was his original intent for our lives, is to solve problems here on earth. He occupies our bodies. We're just shells. He came to occupy us to affect change here in the world, right? So again, I'm Dr. Eve, everyone. For those of you who didn't know me, I decided to come here on Monday. The question is, I paid my bills, now what? Now I need y'all to get off the sideline, stop being spectators, jump into this ring out here and get busy because you have a bigger calling. You have a bigger job, and that is to use what God has given you, the talents, the skills, your jobs, whatever that is, to effect change in the world. I'm Dr. Eve, everyone, your community health and human service educator, and I'm excited to touch a life. My purpose in life is to touch one life and touch millions. I disciple others for change. So excited to be here before you. Hope you go and have the most amazing day, most amazing week. If I don't see you anymore this week, remember that you too can work from anywhere in the world, mobile anytime, mobile anywhere. Come to have a seat. Come have a seat at our table. Learn how to engineer what God has called you to do. Sometimes we get here real time, y'all, on these cameras, and we have to let it be. That's how you find your voice. Many people just get here and they think they got to be perfect. Y'all gotta get over here on YouTube and see I have absolutely no makeup on. Now over here on Instagram, I have a small filter on. I mean, it is what it is. But make change happen. Okay? Peace and blessings to you all. Have the most amazing day. And whatever you do, don't let anyone get in the way on your journey to becoming who God has called you to be. Peace and blessings, everyone. Good Monday. Bye, YouTube.